Bandai Namco and CyberConnect2's action RPG, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, is now out, which means hundreds of thousands of Dragon Ball fans are currently diving deep into the game and its retelling of Goku's iconic saga. And as you quickly find out upon beginning the game, Kakarot can throw a lot of systems and mechanics your way right off the bat, which some might be overwhelmed by, especially in the game's opening hours. In this feature, we've compiled 10 beginners' tips and tricks that you should find handy, which will hopefully help you come to grips with some of the game's most crucial systems a bit quicker, and help you enjoy the game a bit more. So without further ado, let's get started. Z-Orbs. Much of your time in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot outside of combat will be spent flying around, since that is, after all, your primary method of traversal in this game. And as you're flying around, the thing you'll see most often is Z-Orbs. Blue, green, and red orbs scattered abundantly all throughout the world. And while you might think ignoring them and beelining it to your destination is a good idea since there's just so darn many of these things, don't do that. Z-Orbs is what you spend to upgrade your abilities, one of many ways to do that actually, which means you're gonna want to stack up on as many of these orbs as possible. Spending Z-Orbs. This should go without saying and naturally follows from what we just talked about, but the game itself doesn't really do a very good job of explaining this, so we might as well. While Kakarot tells you to collect Z-Orbs and tells you how they're color-coded, it doesn't tell you that you'll also have to spend these orbs to unlock super moves. On any character's character page, press Y or triangle to access the super attack skill tree. This is where you'll spend your orbs to unlock new moves. Equip stuff. This too should be obvious, at least in retrospect, but the game doesn't really tell you any of this, or if it does, it doesn't explain things very well. Once you've unlocked your super moves, you'll have to equip them if you want to use them. Similarly, unlocking know-how, passive skills, isn't enough either, and you'll have to equip those as well. As such, you'll have to consider which moves you're gonna keep equipped all the time, and switch things around according to different situations. D-medals. D-medals are what you'll spend in training areas to eventually get access to skills, and unlocking these skills, as you can imagine, is quite essential to progression in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Thankfully, these too are available quite easily, through side quests, main quests, or exploration, so make sure you keep collecting these. Healing items. Combat in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot isn't always the most challenging, but a few of the boss fights can be genuinely tricky to get through. These are the times when you'll be relying on your healing items quite a bit, so you want to make sure you're always well stocked. Outside of battle, you can buy these or find them in the world, so always have a few of these in store, and once again, make sure they're equipped. Keep charging your ki. Most of what you do in combat requires ki, and these requirements can vary based on what you're doing. But if you're short on ki, you won't have a lot of options available to you in battles. Thankfully, recharging ki is easy enough. All you have to do is hold Y or triangle. You'll have to make sure during combat that you have a couple of seconds to do this, because you don't want to leave yourself open to attacks when you're recharging, especially during boss fights, so keep that in mind. Time your dodges. While most of the regular enemies in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot are pretty easy to defeat, some of the bosses, as we've discussed, can put up a real fight. Dodging and blocking their attacks is, as such, crucial a lot of the time. Timing your dodges perfectly is something in particular you're gonna want to do, because perfect dodges for melee attacks gives you the chance to counter and deal some decent damage of your own. Eating food. Like many Japanese RPGs, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot makes a big deal out of cooking and eating food, and it's actually a pretty useful system that plays a big part in character progression. Eating food provides you with temporary stat buffs, and the better the ingredients, the better the buffs. Dino meat in particular is excellent for this, so keep hunting those dinosaurs. Food and meals, however, also come with some permanent boosts, and it's possible to stack these buffs, which means you get stronger buffs as you keep eating more and more. All of which is to say, keep eating food. Soul emblems and gifts. Like many features and systems, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot does a poor job of explaining soul emblems and the community boards, which is surprising, because this is perhaps one of the game's most important systems. You'll get community boards from various characters in the games, while you will also regularly get soul emblems, which are specific to characters. Placing soul emblems on community boards will provide you with various buffs and advantages, with each community board having different abilities, ranging from food buffs and improved stats to extra experience points and more. Meanwhile, using gifts can be used to level up specific soul emblems. It's all pretty important, and the upgrades can be very useful, especially later on in the game, so make sure you keep an eye on all your community boards. Side quests. There's a lot of side quests in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and while you might be tempted to skip a few, or many of them, since they're not all the most engaging, the rewards most of them yield are actually quite useful. Some of these side quests are also time-bound, and can only be done during certain sections of the game, so whenever you have the time, and you'll usually have plenty, do any side quests you can. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.